Hello and a very warm welcome to the latest MTD podcast. My name is Joe Reynolds and I've got 25 years experience in the design, manufacture, application, sales and now marketing of cutting tools. Today I have the pleasure of hosting a podcast with a cutting tool giant. Guhring Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guhring KG, a company whose 2019 global turnover exceeded 1.1 billion euros, would you believe? We're going to discuss loads of different things on the podcast, including tool management, cutting tools as a whole, and also the additive manufacturing process. Joining me first is an expert and indeed a true gentleman in the industry, Dave Hudson. Dave joined over 30 years ago and has been national sales manager for 30 years at Guhring. He's got 45 years total experience and is one of the longest standing staff at Guhring. Dave, welcome. It's obviously a good place to work, Guhring. You've been there a while.
Absolutely, Joe. Yeah, good morning to you as well. It's been interesting over the years. We've continued to grow and continue to bring new products into the portfolio, and I think that's what's kept it interesting, certainly. And that's probably the main reason why I'm still here.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, really. Most people will have come across the name and the brand of Guhring, but it's not just about jobber drills anymore, is it? So if you can just tell us about, the portfolio.
Yeah, very much so, Joe. I think that's probably what's been really good over the years. We've always had something new to bring in there year on year. When it started from drills initially, then we had taps and milling cutters and another product came in, and then obviously we got into the situation where we were making our own tools in Birmingham, and then it went on to PCD and regrind and recoat. So there's always been something there that's made of interest, certainly.
Yeah, and where are you in the marketplace? Are you heavily into one particular sector, or is it a broad brush approach?
We went from general engineering initially, and then probably got very heavily into the automotive sector. And that's continued to grow and grow. And I don't think there's an automotive plant in the UK now where we haven't got a presence. Over the last, certainly I would say 10 years, the aerospace side of it has grown again. And now side, it's pretty well 50-50 now between aerospace, automotive. And then we sell out to the general engineering public, predominantly through distribution. And that's why it's a good broad brush. So.
Yeah, so what makes you, I've been around the Guhring facility there in Birmingham, and it's truly remarkable. There's a whole plethora of technology. But do you think that's why you're so strong in these OEM car manufacturers, because you can service them locally?
I think very much so. That was the main idea of the plant when we first put it together and moved it. We had two facilities when we were at Castle Bromwich. We brought PCD into the fold. And then the whole plan was to put the whole lot together into one facility, which is why we did, and we opened that up in the spring of 2017.
Sure, and for people who know Guhring, I'm sure that everyone's used a tap across the years and things, but you've got a lot of milling products now, haven't you? Both PCD, which tends to be more bespoke from time to time. You've also got some face mills from aluminium, and obviously one of the world's largest ranges of solid carbide end mills.
Yeah, very much so. I think we had a company called Hohlfelder who we bought about 10 years ago, and that pretty well got us into inserts, and they're all bespoke inserts that's used predominantly in the automotive industry, but it's other things as well. And obviously, yes, as you rightly say, the other product range has grown and grown. And as I say, one of the areas that we'll be talking to today is the tool management side of it on the bending.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And you seem to, of late, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but it seems to have late, you've brought out a lot of new products. When I think of the speed range and some of your new drilling systems, and you've got an aluminium, long reach aluminium roughing tool, you seem to be bringing out a lot all in one go.
I think the thing we've done is we've always brought these products out. I think what we've done now is actually advertise the fact that we've done it. I think there's been a big change within what we've done in event of marketing with these products coming along, and maybe we undersold it a little bit. And the beauty of it now is we've got somebody on board that can actually market it on that side, which is obviously what Lisa does. So.
Yeah, and what is it at the size of that? You've got a massive factory there next to the villa ground. That is the only downside to that. But it's what products do you make there? You've mentioned PCD, but obviously clearly it's a lot more than just PCD.
Very much so. I mean, we've got a multitude of carbide, particularly anything in carbide. We'll make from there. We've got our own coating facility. We've got our own regrind facility. As I said, we brought the PCD manufacturing facility in with it. So it works really well in respect that there's most tooling and applications that we can actually do from Birmingham now. So, and on top of that as well, we've also got getting on for somewhere between £4 and £5 million of standard stock as well, and that's really what has carried us through this COVID-19 craziness that we've had. Has really been the standard side of it, which has been brilliant.
Yeah, you're fairly unique, aren't you? Obviously, holding that amount of stock here in the UK for next day or even same day delivery, I guess. But you're one of the only plants I'm aware of. You can actually get a bar, get a lump of carbide, and produce a finished coated tool. There can't be many plants in the UK that can do the whole lot.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I mean, not only is it the carbide, it's our own manufactured carbide, which we make in Berlin. So we've got numerous grades, we've got numerous pitch circle diameter of hole for through coolant applications. We've got our own CNC mill turn center that we can make bodies in the conventional way, and now we've obviously got the 3D metal printing for doing it in something a little bit different.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's you mentioned tool management, and at this stage, I'd like to introduce Lee Austin, who heads up tool management and vending for Guhring, and Lee's got 20 years electrical and mechanical engineering experience and has been with Guhring for 6.5 years now. So, Lee, welcome to the podcast. But can we just start with fundamentally, what is tool management? It's a lot more than just vending machines, isn't it?
Yes, of course. The concept of tool management basically is transparency of costs and your tools, basically, your usage and being clear on what you're using, what you're buying in, and basically managing your stock. So you're not sitting on stock for 12, 18 months that you don't use.
Yeah, no, it sounds good to me. It sounds good. But where, obviously, I know at Guhring you've got, I would call them software engineers. I don't know what you would call them. But, in terms of your software integration, what part, in terms of the manufacturing process, where does it start and where does it finish? Obviously you order a tool, you put it in the vending machine. Where does it go from there?
Okay, so like customers got one of the tool management machines in their premises. Basically, they'll order the tool from, for example, Guhring. You can book it in, and then you've got traceability basically of who's using that tool, what job it's been used on. If you want to take it further, how many times it's been used. Like without one of these machines, for example, we go into a lot of customers that the tools are just kept on shelves and it's basically a free-for-all. So, for example, a customer could buy 10 new tools in, put them on the shelf. The users will go up, take them. They don't know where they've been used, on what machine, on what job. There's no traceability of it. But by having using the software, the Guhring GTMS, they're locked away in the vending machines and you've got full traceability of everything in that tool life.
So where's the human intervention in terms of, is it when you come to raise an invoice or when you come to reorder? Is there any human intervention there or is it like a software process?
No, it's all done through the software. Basically, you have a minimum level. The idea that the vending machines, basically, you should never run out of the tool if it's managed properly. And whenever we install these machines, we always tell the customer, you have to manage the machine as well. It's not a magic box. If it's managed badly, it reflects badly on the software because we always get told the software's not working. And with the traceability of it, we can always find out that actually it's not the software's fault, it's being managed wrong. So then we'll do extra training. So basically, when you fill the machine with the tools, when it gets to a min level, depending on the usage, it'll send an order either to the purchasing department of the company or it can go straight to the supplier. So then them tools will be delivered and you'll still have enough in stock so it doesn't run out.
That's interesting. And you talk about min-max. Is that something Guhring decide on, or the company, or does the software say, well, you use 2 a week, therefore we recommend you keep 6?
To start with, we implement, the customer will decide. They'll know the usage of what they use. They'll decide the min-max levels. And then further on down the line, after a certain period, 6 months, you can actually do that, integrate that with the software, just by simply putting in the dates, what you've used in the past 6 months, and it'll tell you how many you'll need for the next 6 months.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? That's really good. And it's, at some level, I presume, the people in the CAD office or the programming office, they can get visibility to see whether there's if they need a 10 mil drill for a job, there's a way they can quickly locate, find out if you've got one essentially, or if you need to order one.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you can have CAD drawings put on the software. It can also be run remotely to office PCs. So basically, as you said, the CAD drawing or programmers can sit in the office, log onto the machine, see what they got in stock, actually update the drawings for the tools if there's any changes to it, and all that's kept on the machine. So every transaction that happens is logged onto the software.
Brilliant. And how does it work in terms of tooling? Obviously, you've got a very large range of cutting tools at Guhring, but you don't supply everything. So what happens if they want a particular product that you don't supply? Can I have third-party product in there?
Yes, what we tend to do with Guhring is we'd like the customer to buy the machine, because if we're doing a tool management project for a customer as a whole, then we'll put the vending machine in for them and manage their tooling like that. But if they buy the machine, then they can put whatever tooling they want in, yeah. And if they want Guhring to be the sole supplier, we will negotiate with other suppliers to buy the tooling for the customer.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think that's the best way to do it. There's a lot of companies that supply vending machines, arguably FOC, or certainly at a very low contribution. And don't get me wrong, that works really well for a number of companies. But I think you get to a stage where you are better off. You're better off owning the machine, therefore you control, your supply chain, don't you? You've got leverage. You can say, I want this brand, or you can put businesses against each other to try and get costs out of a job, can't you? As soon as you sign into, a free vendor machine, I don't know how easy that becomes.
Yeah, I don't think you get anything free these days, do you? No, that's what we try to push at Guhring. It's flexibility with the customer, and we'll support the customer with the software side of things and the machine, the maintenance. But we encourage the customer that they can put any kind of tools in, and Guhring's always there to support them.
And then this sounds all very not futuristic, but very high tech, expensive. Do you have to be, a large blue chip global company to use this type of technology from Guhring?
Not at all. I put them into big customers in the automotive and aerospace industry, but I get more satisfaction putting them into a smaller engineering company, because they need to keep tighter control of the costs. And also with these smaller companies as well, we like to encourage them to try and get it integrate with their SAP system or Navision system. So everything that's booked out of the software, it will read to their network, and it saves a lot of time and effort for the procurement people.
Oh wow! So you can literally go straight into SAP.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, to me, it's a no-brainer. I know if you go into some European countries, that they are like one of the first things they buy after a machine tool, whereas over here, it's not so much. And you can spend, £40 an hour is 66p a minute, isn't it? And you can spend 20 minutes looking for a tool. You've lost £6, £7, £10 trying to find a tool. So I think most companies should invest in vending, but I think it's getting better slowly, isn't it?
Yes, especially in these current times, I'm getting more requests now from the software side of things about reporting and where their tools are going. Initially, when you first put them in, they're happy with seeing what's being withdrawn, who's using what. But now they're starting to they want a lot more on the costs. Like, sometimes I will go into a customer and they'll say they put the costs in on the tools. 6 months later, they want to find out. They'll phone me up. How much have we spent on this tool? And they haven't put the costs in. So that's a big part of the software side, is making sure you put all the information in to start with, so you get the full transparency of where the costs are going.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be frustrating, wouldn't it? That would be frustrating. No doubt there's a little bit of work up front, but when you've done that, it will pay dividends. Pay dividends, in years to come. But it's great speaking with you, and I can see, that your role there is going to get more and more involved. I do genuinely think more and more people are going to look at tool management, not just vending, but tool management as a whole. It's got huge potential. And speaking of huge potential, our next guest on the podcast is Alan Pearce. Now, Alan is another highly experienced engineer with 40 years experience in the game. He's actually worked at Guhring twice, so it must be a good place to work. And Alan is currently in charge of PCD production at Guhring. Welcome, Alan, and just briefly, if you can tell us about the PCD plant in Birmingham and what technology you have there on site.
Good morning, Joe. Yes, the PCD plant has been running since 2012. We initially first started up with just looking at relapping of PCD tooling. But shortly after that, we realised that we needed to do retipping of tools and also new tools as well. So since then, we've introduced, as I say, the new tooling as well. And obviously now we've got the 3D printed tooling with PCD segments.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that. There's what we haven't mentioned today. You've got what I call a technology centre at Guhring in Birmingham, which includes Nakamura Y-axis lathes. So you've got CNC machining centres, and now you've got Mark IV 3D printer. And where I want to dig a bit deeper today is obviously 3D printing, additive manufacturing. It's been around, 20 years plus now, believe it or not. But it just seems this last 18 months, it's really gained some traction. And I know at Guhring, you've had huge success. So maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, yes, with Mark 3D, we had our first desktop printer in May of 2019. Here we could just do plastic prototype tooling. It initially helped us for the design of tools so that we could actually see that we can manipulate cutters to manufacture steel body tooling. Also, we used it for printing various parts, machine parts that are broken that we couldn't attain anymore, and various other bits like that. And then shortly after that, then we found that we needed a Metal X printer. So again, Mark 3D supplied us with a Metal X. That was in September of 2019. Here we could now produce steel-bodied tools with PCD.
Yeah, it's incredible. So people aren't aware of additive manufacturing. It's layer by layer printing of metal, essentially. But so when you look at this tool, I'm presuming you don't know it's been printed, but before you pick it up, just to look at it, probably looks very similar to a traditionally manufactured tool.
Yes, you can see that it is printed because you have obviously, like you just said, you've got the layers. So you can physically see like a series of rings. But this then can be, once it's printed, the tool then goes into what we call a wash. At this stage, it's a green part. And the part is 20% bigger than the finished article. So tool goes into the wash. It can be in the wash for up to a day, 2-3 days. You're literally washing the wax out of the part. So once the tool's been washed, we then dry the tool. Again, this can take 4 hours up to a day. Once the tool's been dried, we weigh the tool, and we must have a reduction of 4% of weight. So this is obviously the wax that we are trying to wash out of the part. Once we've got the correct weight of the tool, we then this is then classed as a brown part. We can then put this part into the sinter. From then, we can set the software on the sinter, and it'll sinter for approximately 26 hours. Once the sinter's finished, we then have a hardened part. So the material that we're mainly using at the moment is H13 for our tool bodies. And then this part then, once it's sintered and hardened, we can then grind the shank, braze segments, and treat it really then just like a normal machine part.
It's crazy, isn't it? If we had this conversation 5 years ago, you'd be wondering what we're talking about, wasn't you? But it's all seems to, it's, this technology, it's just incredible. And I've mentioned Dave, Dave Hudson has mentioned to me a couple of times about how it's a better. This isn't to speed up the manufacturing process. This does actually produce a better tool. It produces a lighter tool. The face where you braze the carbide onto, it's a bit rougher, which is essentially what you want for a brazing process. So we're not looking at saving time here. It's actually producing a better tool fundamentally.
Yes, I mean, it's got so many advantages. I mean, there was one case with one customer. He needed a tool designed and on site within 1.5 weeks. And the only way that we could physically produce this tool was to sinter the tool body, braze the segments, wire, grind, and we supplied within the allotted time. So it speeds up some of the processes. But as you say, the main factor is the weight. There's a massive reduction in weight.
How fast?
Again, an example that I've got, we supply a steel body tool, and what we wanted to do was a comparison of a printed tool. So we supply them with a printed tool, and it was literally 25% less weight, and
Wow.
it still performed exactly the same.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? So, and what are the advantages of having a lighter tool?
Well, it's spindle.
Yeah, I think from the application side of it, Joe, I think the weight of the tool is obviously not putting as much stress on the spindle, the bearings coming in from that. Tool change again, we found from there. It does appear to be stronger as well from what we found. I mean, we've got good examples now in automotive and aerospace, and we're finding more applications that where it would be uneconomical to move to PCD with some big carbide tools. Now we're using them as 3D printed tools. You can actually afford to do it, and that's what we've found to date. It's been working quite well in that respect.
And that's the remarkable thing, isn't it? Listening to this, it sounds very futuristic, very techy, and dare I say it, very expensive. But arguably, in the right instance, this tool is going to be cheaper than traditional methods.
Absolutely right. We have an example recently, and the beauty of it is, if you wanted to make a carbide special inserted type tool, it's a lot of CAD work to do on it. It could be steel, it could be machine in the pocket to do all that. We're doing none of that, so you can put into PCD from an application point of view far easier than you can if you were trying with carbide. And as a result, obviously that helps with the cost because you're not putting as much time into the job. So your labour costs are obviously lower.
Yeah, but to me, the biggest advantage of additive manufacturing in general, not just this, but in general, is the fact that you can design what you want. When I used to design milling bodies, you'd spend more time trying to get coolant to the correct place, to the correct position, the correct angle, onto the insert for various reasons. With additive manufacturing, that's all gone. You can put the coolant where you want it. You can drill round corners essentially with additive manufacturing. So you can have spiral coolant holes should you need them and things like that. That is the big advantage.
That is the main advantage. As you've just said, coolant with PCD tooling is very, very important. And as I say, with the printing, you can literally have the coolant coming out in any direction, any way. As long as you can draw the part, you can print the part. We use SolidWorks. So when we're designing the tool, we're already halfway there with the software, because with the SolidWorks we can use the model to go straight onto the printer and print straight away.
Yeah, no programming, is there? If you've done the quote, 9 times out of 10, you're going to model it up anyway, aren't you? And
yeah. I mean, as you say, you're giving the customer a drawing. To get that drawing, you've got to do a model, and that model is part of the software that you can use.
Yeah, no, absolutely incredible. And presumably you could send them a plastic one if they weren't quite convinced.
That's the beauty of it, and that is what we have been mostly doing. We send them a plastic part. They can then offer it up to the components to see if there's any problems, any issues. Most recently, I done a printed part, sent it to the customer. He offered it up to the components, and he found that it was 1 or 2 mil out. So straight away we could rework the model, and obviously then we went to print the steel part, and again supplied within a week and a half. But straight away from the plastic model, he could see where there was the problem. Where with a drawing you wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I'm 100% convinced on this technology. I think you're the first I'm aware of doing it in the UK, but I don't think it will be for long, because it is just a no-brainer to me. It really is a no-brainer. The fact that you can produce products quicker, cheaper, and you can design for manufacturer. You can design the correct tool for the correct job. So Alan, many thanks for your time today. And Dave, if I can just quickly come to you to wrap up today's podcast. Guhring, obviously 2020, it's been, I hate the word unprecedented, but it has been an unprecedented year. How are Guhring faring, and what's the future look like?
I think the future looks good. I mean, I'm saying that in respect that, nobody really knows. I mean, people have said to me, well, what we're going to do at Christmas, give me a crystal ball and I'll tell you. It is literally that. We didn't see this coming. Nobody saw this coming back in January when we had a sales meeting back there, and we've got plans for the year. Since we've moved into the site here in 2017, we've seen year-on-year growth. So this will be the first year that we haven't grown during that period. I think the biggest benefit that we've had maybe over some of the competition is the fact that we are very diverse. The fact that we've got the standard range that we can call on, and to be fair, the standard range, although it's probably down about 20%. It's the special side of it because of really what's happened within the automotive and the aerospace industry, and the aerospace sub-suppliers that are going into that. But they'll all return, and they'll all come up again. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, but all we know is that we're keeping everything here, that we can continue to grow into 2021, 22, and hopefully thereon.
Yeah, and would you believe you just had a new piece of equipment delivered?
We did, yeah, as part of the plan. It was still there. It wasn't cancelled. We had a new 9-axis CNC machine. That puts us a total of 12 Guhring manufactured machines. A lot of people don't realise the fact, but we do make our own machine tools as well as the own cutting tools, as well as our own carbide, and as well as Lee says with the vending machines and the likes. We're a pretty self-sufficient company, and I think that's one of the plus points of Guhring is the fact that we can be pretty self-sufficient. Even the coating machines that we coat on are actually Guhring manufactured, and we have 2 of those here. Yeah,
no, that's where I'll finish up really on today's podcast. It's Guhring, you make cutting tools, but you really are true innovators. You're unique in that. I don't know any other company that manufactures their machines to make their end mills and drills and things. So obviously most people use a different one of 2 or 3 brands. So yeah, you are innovators and you are different. But many thanks to the 3 of you today. It's been a great podcast. And for anyone watching at home that wants to find out more about Guhring, obviously there's lots on our website, mtdcnc.com. Also, obviously, feel free to speak to Guhring direct. Their website's dead easy to find. But yeah, and if you like this podcast, it'd mean the world to us if you just liked it and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, many thanks for listening at home, and until the next time, this is the MTD Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the MTD Podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.